of and trust in it. Now that our socialism is based on the Duce-orientated view of an attitude towards the masses of people, it has become the most advantageous and powerful socialism and enjoys the people's absolute support and trust. End of quotation. Thus, socialism in people's Korea is different to that in other countries. It is a socialism centered upon the masses and based on benevolent and all-embracing politics, as Comrade Kim Jong-il concludes. Our party will invariably and fully pursue genuine politics for the people, benevolent politics which regards the popular masses, the masters of everything in society, as supreme beings and bestows everlasting love and trust on them. Our party and people are faced with the heavy yet honourable task of carrying forward and consummating through generations the socialist cause of Juche, which was initiated and led by the great leader Comrade Kim Il-sung, as it has won victories in the past by believing in and relying on the people. So, too, in the future, our party will accomplish the socialist cause of Juche by believing in and relying on them. Man-centered socialism, socialism centered on the popular masses, is absolutely scientific and the most advantageous and powerful socialism. For its scientific accuracy and truth, socialism is sure to be victorious. End of quotation. This adroitly sums up the superiority of Duce-based people-centered socialism. The work Socialism is a Science is indeed a very powerful work, although it was published 30 years ago. Its clear message is still relevant today, indeed very relevant. I would urge everybody to make a very deep study of this work. Read it and reread it, please, comrades. You will learn a lot from it. And lastly, but in no means least, there's this whole issue of British support for South Korea and British hostility towards People's Korea, and this was manifested about a week, about 10 days ago, about 2 weeks ago, when the Foreign Secretary, or new Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, actually visited Puppet Land. In fact, he went to the actual border with the DPRK as well. And by the way, I am by no means an advocate for George Galloway or the Workers' Party of Britain, but George Galloway made a very funny video about David Lammy. That's a good laugh to watch. Anyway, back to more serious things. Lammy's visit to South Korea demonstrated that the British imperialist reactionaries are joining hands with the South Korean fascist puppets against People's Korea and conspiring into the DPRK. So the timing of Lammy's visit to South Korea cannot have been coincidental. It was clearly done to condone and endorse these provocative actions of the South Korean puppets against People's Korea. It is very wrong for Britain to support South Korea, which is a fascist puppet regime colony of US imperialism, where people live in poverty and work the longest hours in the world and have one of the highest suicide rates in the world. And moreover, South Korea is occupied by US troops. Britain should really end its support for South Korea, full stop. And the so-called joint statement issued by the puppets and British Foreign Secretary is just complete nonsense. It's just full of lies about the DPRK, and it is based on lies and untruths. This is the case. Lammy and his boss, Keir Starmer, or as people call him, Kid Starver, are continuing with the policy of the previous Tory government of the governments of Sunak, Liz Truss, Bojo, Theresa May, dodgy Dave Cameron, all that lot. Labour is continuing with these hostile anti-DPRK policies, and it is basically the policy of British imperialism to overthrow Duce-based socialism in People's Korea. We've got to remember Britain is still an imperialist power, as are friends in the north of Ireland, the 6 counties of Ireland, know only too well. But at the same time, it is subordinated to US imperialism, basically believing in the so-called special relationship. But this means Britain acting like a complete poodle to the US, like the 51st state of the US. And basically every time the Yankees say jump, whatever British government is in power and whatever colouring or stripe it has, always asks, "How high, sir?" Britain has always played a most reactionary and imperialistic role
I just watched a video where
in Korea. In the 1900s, Britain connived at Japan's colonial occupation of Korea. Later, Britain sent troops to fight against the Korean people in 1950 in the Fatherland Liberation War, or Korean War. Shamefully, British troops acted as cannon fodder and mercenaries for US imperialism and its destructive and barbaric war against the Korean people. After the Korean War, Britain gave huge amounts of aid from the taxes paid by British working people to the South Korean puppets. It is a fact that in the 70s, the state-owned motor company, British Leyland, actually assisted the South Korean puppets in actually setting up the car industry in South Korea. And to this day, Britain is sending aid to South Korea, and it's something we should be campaigning against. We should cut the strings of the South Korean puppet regime. What we need in Britain is a clean break with the past imperialist policies, and also for Britain to be independent of US imperialism. We need a second and third Brexit, only this one would be aimed at breaking from US control of Britain. Britain needs to pursue progressive and positive policies towards the DPRK, policies of genuine friendship, cooperation, and mutual benefit. As I pointed out in my letter to Lammy, and I quote, a post-Brexit Britain could benefit from increased trade with the DPRK, as well as learning from the DPRK's excellent example of self-reliance. And to conclude here my remarks, the way we can bring about such a better relationship between Britain and the DPRK is by building KFA UK, which defends people's career with no ifs or buts. And in this connection, we're holding a number of real life events. Next week, I'm going to be travelling up to the city of Liverpool, that historic city of culture, very much a working class city, where I will give a meeting about people's career, where I will report back on my visit in April, and I will talk about the need to defend people's career. That's on the 7th of November at 7 p.m. In Liverpool. Check out our social media for further details. And also, we're going to picket the British Brainwashing Corporation on the 12th of November. And we're going to hand over a letter of protest to the British Brainwashing Corporation. And it's vital, if you believe in defending people's career with no ifs or buts, that you support those two events. Anyway, thank you for listening. I'm now going to start checking the live chat for questions, and I'll try and take a few questions. Okay. Right, let's just look at the questions, shall we? Yeah, I hope I don't miss any. Right. Right. Well, hello to everyone. He's said hello to me. A lot of people said hello. And just to start taking up the question. Well, I mean, first of all, about DPRK and Ukraine. This is so far an unconfirmed rumor about DPRK troops in Ukraine. And certainly there would never be 15,000 KPA troops in the Ukraine. The DPRK has never, ever, at any point in its history, sent that number of troops outside of the country. The DPRK is in a very tense situation, standing in confrontation with US imperialism. It cannot commit large numbers of troops to overseas operations. In the past, it has sent limited numbers of military or air force personnel to different countries, such as Egypt and Syria in the 1970s. Probably the biggest deployment was Vietnam, where the Air Force was sent, and also artillery and engineering units were sent, but there was no way this was 10,000 or 15,000. And limited numbers of DPRK military were in other countries, but usually they were they're in a training or advisory role rather than a combat role. These reports are false or very, very exaggerated. Yeah, a good point. Yes, the US did invade Cuba actually before the Cuba Missile Crisis. Right, just strolling down. I hope I don't miss anyone's questions. Yes, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, yes, the DPRK yesterday tested the Hwasong 19 ICBM. And I agree, yeah, I think opening McDonald's would be worse than disarming. Von Libertaire, yes, you're very welcome. Yeah, I think this is a very important point. You know, the two are connected, and one of the reasons the DPRK adopted the line of giving priority to the armed forces and the line of self-defense and self-reliance in defense was because of what they saw happen to Cuba in 1962. They drew lessons from that. Yeah, I've heard it's a hot knife through butter, but I thought I'd be different. I'm too poor to be able to afford to buy butter. It's about £5 in Lidl for Danish butter. Margarine is much cheaper. I can't comment about whether China is happy or not happy about the DPRK's relations with Russia. At the end of the day, it is the DPRK's business which countries they form good relations with. Yes, I agree with the comments from von Libertaire. Who's written, I was deeply impressed by socialism as a science. Kim Jong il was a political genius. This is proven by the fact that DPRK survived the era of ultimate US dominance, 1991 to 2008. Right. Could you name some other books? Well, from that period in which socialism as a science was written, there is another excellent short work called Abuses of Socialism Are Intolerable, and also on giving priority to ideological work is essential for accomplishing socialism, just to name two. And there's a number of books by number of works by Comrade Kim Jong-un. I would also recommend reading On the Juche Idea by Comrade Kim Jong-il. Well, I mean, this is an old discussion about the relationship between Marxism and the Juche idea that's been discussed so many times. In fact, I made a video on it somewhere, and it's covered in the Duce idea video course that I did, and an article. I mean, I can perhaps uh, yeah, put links in the chat before we go before we pack up for the evening. I want to meet KFA USA. Well, I mean, they're on their. I think they're on Facebook. They're on Telegram. You should be able to contact them through that, or through email. I'll put in an email address for them as well. So must remember to put all these things in the chat. NBC, National Brainwashing Corporation, CBS, Corporate Brainwashing Syndicate, CNN, Certified Nutcase Network. Right. This is again this subject coming up. People calling themselves, yes, that's a very important point. Calling themselves Marxist, Leninist, Maoists. Calling themselves that and being that are, of course, two different things. I call them State Department Maoists. Mao would be horrified by their anti-DPRK attitudes. Mao was a friend of the DPRK and respected the great leader, Comrade Kim Il Sung. But this is rubbish about the DPRK abandoning class struggle. In fact, only a few weeks ago, there was a reference to class struggle in KCNA, and the DPRK's always put emphasis on class struggle, but they have the policy of combining the class line, that's the struggle against class enemies, enemies of the people, enemies of socialism, with the mass line, which means uniting the masses behind the party. The DPRK combines the two lines. I'll just try and find that reference from KCNA about class struggle. Hope I can find it. Yeah, a Rudon Simon article of the 20th of October, I believe, actually mentions class struggle, class consciousness. I'll just see if I can put that in the chat. I don't know if it'll let me. That's now in the chat. But you see, it's been chopped up. Let me just put the link to the KCNA article. But as I say, this was 20th of October. About 2 weeks. About 2 weeks ago. So it's we're not talking about something that was said in the 60s or the 70s. We're talking about something now. So put the link to the whole KCNA article, and I'll go back and look at some of the make sure I don't miss. Right, Riakati, good evening. Can you tell me about university studies in DPRK? I'm a student. I've always wondered about university life and studies in the DPRK. Uh, well, in the DPRK, there's 300 different universities. University courses are 4 years. They admit students who've usually done a year's work before or have been in the military. Uh, Korean students study very hard. They're always studying. I've actually seen students in the DBRK actually in parks and around Kim Il Sung Square actually reading books. They participate actively in the Socialist Patriotic Youth League and also do military training. Accommodation and food is provided for students and also clothes as well. With books, there should be I mean, there's a site with downloadable DBRK books. I'll put a link. That's the simplest thing. Find it and put a link to it, and you can download from it. Right, yeah, I'll put in the link so you can so you can download books on that. Respected Marshal Kim Jong Un has written many works and books, and I was actually there in April 2012 when he made his first public speech. Right, here we are. Any question about reunification? Yes, the DPRK changed its policy on reunification in December 2023. It is no longer looking to reunify with South Korea and has abandoned the one country, two systems concept. It now regards South Korea as a hostile state and an invariable enemy, a permanent enemy of the DPRK. Right, Joseph Stalin. Which candidate in the US elections would be better for Duce, Trump or Camilla? Ha, well, ha ha. My answer is neither. They are both US imperialists. They just represent different factions within the ruling class. Really, the Democrats are sort of like the liberal, trendy rainbow coloured wing of US imperialism, whereas Trump is the conservative wing of US imperialism. It's complicated by the fact that Trump likes to play a populist card, and tries to get popular support. He did actually enter into negotiations with the DPRK. But I personally, and this is my opinion, not the opinion of the DPRK, not the opinion of KFA UK or the British Group for the Study of the Future. It's my personal opinion that Trump's negotiations weren't sincere, that there was some kind of hidden motive behind his negotiations with the DPRK. Now, what that really was is a matter, I think, for future historians. Possibly it was showmanship, vanity, trying to, prove that he could do something that other US presidents could not, or that he was actually, as I strongly suspect, looking to try. He thought that he could talk the DPRK into adopting the capitalist system, and that he could actually build a Trump Tower in the DPRK, something like that. But but yeah, I don't think either of them would be any good from the point of view of Duce. They both reactionaries, and I certainly have no illusions in the US Democratic Party. You know, uh, I think one, two people have mentioned Jill Stein. I don't know enough about her. I don't live in the US, so I don't vote. I don't have a vote in US elections. Similarly, I don't know if Workers' World Party or Party of Socialism and Liberation are standing. In fact, I believe, yes, PSL are standing because Caleb Moppin has attacked or criticised them. But anyway, yeah, basically, one wing of US imperialism is no better than the other. Right. Right. Oh, hello to Comrade George Hadipatris. Thank you for solidarity from KFA Greece, and nice to see you on the live stream. Right. Any more questions? I'll just try and put some links about uh, Duce and Marxism. Here's the video I made where we talk about the relationship between Duce and Marxism, because that's a subject that comes up a lot of the time, and someone raised tonight. Yeah, I mean, again, this is something that comes up a lot, about people asking to move to the DPRK or jobs in the DPRK. In the past, there were very limited number of job openings in the DPRK. If you could teach English as foreign language, you could uh, teach English in the DPRK at the in the university. But like I say, it was very limited. I don't know yet if they're receiving uh, foreign teachers yet. And of course, people with a serious and proven record of fighting for socialism and independence may be able to claim asylum in the DPRK. But I stress only people with like a proven track record. I had someone once saying that they were fighting to support the DPRK and fighting for socialism. And I asked them, well, what have you done exactly? So I've put a few postings on Facebook. No, we don't mean that. We mean, people engaged in a very serious struggle, not just online, but in real life. And, you know, and an example was given today where, say, comrades in KFA Germany were attacked at the Nuremberg book fair. So, it's people with a record of really solid hard work for socialism can claim asylum in the DPRK because it's the DPRK's decision. Right. Any more questions? Because I think we'll close soon. Because I want to phone KFA Germany and clarify what is going on there. Uh, if you are in Germany, I don't know anyone in Germany is watching this live stream, but KFA Germany comrades are at the Nuremberg Left Book Fair, where uh, they've actually got a stall, and well, KFA Germany are on the live stream. Greetings to you, comrades from KFA Germany. Uh, full full solidarity to you. Perhaps you can put in the chat a bit about the situation, about what's happened there, and I'm going to be phoning you uh, very soon uh, to give solidarity and to clarify the situation because I do not know the full situation. Right. Good question. Does the DPRK have a good relationship with Cuba? Yeah, in the past, it had a very good relationship with Cuba. Uh, at the moment, I think it might be, yeah, and this is just personal speculation on my part, it may have been a bit clouded by Cuba establishing relations with South Korea. But, I stress that in the past, the two countries were really close. As I said at the beginning of the live stream, the DPRK actually gave a lot of help to Cuba in 1962 when Cuba was stabbed in the back by the Soviet Union. And Che Guevara and Major Ernesto Che Guevara actually visited the DPRK in 1960 and met President Kim Il sung. And it's been referenced in a number of places that Che actually said that the DPRK was the socialist country he admired the most. So, you know, Che Guevara was a big supporter of the DPRK, as indeed was Fidel and Raul Castro as well. And Fidel visited People's Korea in 1986, and the DPRK gave a lot of assistance to Cuba then. And you've got to remember at that time, the Soviets under Gorbachev, as I call him, were actually starting to get a lot of aid to Cuba. The DPRK supplied Cuba with 100,000 automatic rifles free of charge. So, I mean, basically, there's a good relationship. And lastly, I'd uh, uh, mention that the current Cuban president visited the DPRK in November 2018. You know, it'd be the anniversary of that visit very soon. Right. Well, reaching the end, but we're certainly getting loads of very deep questions. Well, uh, you know, with this whole issue of GDP statistics. I mean, I've partly covered the subject in my book In Defence of Duce Korea. Yeah, I mean, first of all, it wouldn't surprise me that the figures are from South Korea are fake or massaged. And I think the thing to realise about GDP statistics in general uh, 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 is that in capitalist countries, GDP statistics are inflated, in fact, because they include things that aren't real wealth, like stocks and shares, which are really, at the end of the day, just bits of paper, or these days, not even bits of paper, because they're presumably digital or electronic. And you know, you can create artificial wealth under capitalism, you know, so-called futures markets, hedge funds, and all this sort of thing. So that's an important point to remember. But the other thing about South Korea is, you know, for people not to get seduced by GDP statistics, but look at where uh, South Korean GDP goes. A South Korean economy is totally dominated by multinational corporations, transnational corporations from the US, from Japan, uh, even from Britain, from France, from Germany, and so on. So the wealth created by the South Korean people is not benefiting South Koreans, but it's going to the big transnational corporations. And also within South Korea, there's obviously a capitalist class, a bourgeoisie, who are also taking a big share of the wealth. And South Korea also pays for the expenses of US troops occupying South Korea. So, you know, South Korean people get nothing. And, you know, if it was so wonderful, why couldn't they use the GDP on shortening working hours, or increasing wages, which they don't? And why does South Korea need such severe internal repression, like the national security law, which forbids anyone praising the DPRK or trying to study the DPRK? Did Cuba go capitalist? Well, again, that's a big question. Uh, really, haven't really got too much time for that tonight, and it's a bit outside the remit of uh, this live stream. I think just to answer it briefly, again, personal opinion. I think in the last 20, 30 years, Cuba has introduced some market relations and the economy. An old friend of mine, comrade from our British group of the study, the Duce idea, actually visited Cuba. I think about nearly 20 years ago, and he said he thought of it as a hybrid society. On the one hand, it is uh, like the DPRK in some ways, but in other ways, it reminded him of Spain or Greece. This was his